Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Bourbon. My name is Steve Akley, and we have a fun event tonight. We are going to be trying some whiskey from Leopold Brothers. We've got two different offerings from them. So we have one that is their three-chamber rye, which we'll kind of get into how unique that really is in a second here. And then we have a collaboration where they've also used that rye, but collaborated with George Dickel whiskey and put together something that was also pretty unique. And I said before we got started, I've tried just the regular three-chamber rye. I absolutely am blown away by that whiskey. I'm glad to be able to introduce it to some other folks on the event tonight. And then the collaboration is a little bit unique too, because I didn't know this. George Dickel, who produces a lot and ends up producing a lot for other people. A lot of people source their whiskey from Dickel, but for the most part, they don't make their own rye. They source that from MGP, which, like a lot of people source things from MGP. They source the rye that they sell through them. But as some experiments through the years, they had made some rye and their own. So at the Cascade Hollow Distilling, made this, and they decided to, I guess somehow, some way. They got talking and with Todd Leopold, and they decided to do this collaboration where they use the rye that they had made with the three-chamber rye that Todd had, and they come up with this collaboration. So we'll try that and see what we think of that, but we'll get to that in just a moment. We're going to be starting out with the regular three-chamber rye, but I want to give you just a little bit of information about this. Todd released a video a couple of months ago when he went over the three-chamber rye. It's out on YouTube. Has anybody seen that? Just a quick show of hands. Anybody seen that? It's great. Jason, I say he raised his hand. It is. I'm going to include the link to that in the. We always do a follow-up email after these events. I will include the link to that in there, and I highly encourage you to watch that. It talks about his inspiration for doing this. It talks about why he wanted to do it, how he found all the information, started to put it together, and then you see all the other things that he's doing to make this whiskey very unique. And just a couple highlights from that video. That he started reading about this three-chamber still, and again, they had gone away after Prohibition, didn't come back, but he was reading about how inefficient they were and stuff like that. But people had talked about the flavorful whiskey that it made, and very unique. And what really hit home for him, he saw an article where they profiled Hiram Walker Distillery, and which was the biggest distillery at the time, pumping out like 100,000 gallons a day of whiskey. And they ran two continuous column stills and the three-chamber. And he said when he saw that, that's when he realized that he had to pursue this idea of having a three-chamber, because if you're running two continuous columns, you're pumping out 100,000 gallons a day, this huge volume. Why would you have this still that is so inefficient, is notable because every 15 minutes or so you got to move a lever or something to do something, so you can't you can't just leave it alone like you do a continuous column where it's continually making whiskey. It's very, very slow process. And he's like, but I knew why they had to do that, because that flavor could not be replicated in that continuous column process. It was, it really sparked him to try to do this. So he literally then started kind of designing this based on some old, information that he found. And then he approached Vendome, and again, they hadn't even made one of these since, prior to Prohibition. So they didn't really have the ability to do so. And he's like, well, here's how you do it. He had the plans and everything lined out, and they're like, we can build it. We don't know if it'll work though. So he had to take this huge chance. He had to buy a still, for like $400,000 or something crazy, not even know if it's going to work. And, but so that's why he deserves all the recognition, all the accolades that he gets, because you talk about chasing a dream and then putting all of this behind it and not even knowing if it's going to work. It's just, it really doesn't make any sense, but that's what happens when you see someone that's passionate. Sometimes they toss common sense out the window in pursuit of doing something that they really wanted to happen. He also talked about, some of the other things that makes theirs unique. He talked about, how corn over time, the breeding to get more starch in there, so it produces a higher yield, and how it had evolved from 60% starch content in the corn up to 80 plus today. But he said the starch doesn't add any flavor, and ultimately so it's sacrificing flavor for that yield. And so using heritage heirloom grains and stuff like that was what he wanted to do. So, and of course, we got Gary Heingartner here. We can talk about corn all we want a little bit later tonight. Nobody knows more than Gary when it comes to that kind of stuff, so we can talk about that. But a couple couple other unique things. Of course, they do their own floor malting. So just like they do in Scotland, and it's in the video, you get to see some of that. And it's really a cool process to see how they do that. And again, very labor intensive. You got to keep turning it and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see that. And then another thing he talked about, which is pretty cool, because of the mountain climate, that there's a high evaporation rate in Colorado, and the way they combat it is they use dirt floor rick houses, and the dirt adds moisture into the air, as it would do. And he said that removes their yield, or their angel share, from 10 to 12%, which is pretty typical in Colorado. And again, we got Ryan on here, we can get him to talk about that later. 10 to 12% down to about 4%. So and again, he says that's a little bit more like they have in Kentucky. So he's done some really cool things. He thinks that it contributes to the flavor too. And he says at the end of this whiskey that we're going to be tasting here tonight is more about the grain than it is the barrel. Anytime you hear discussions of barrels, and another expert we got out here is Gary, worked for Independence Day, but they talk about, how much of the flavor comes from the barrel. And I think when you're talking about heritage brands, I'm talking about the old bourbon companies that have been around forever, the big names like Beam and Four Roses and those types. They'll say it's 60 to 80%. You hear crazy numbers at times, and I can see where it pulls a lot of that, because they have these products that have to sit in the barrel for a long time, and it makes sense that that's going to be more focused on the barrel, whereas what Todd's doing is more focused on the grain. And I think you're going to get a lot of that coming out. The three chamber itself is literally like three chambers, three pot stills stacked on top of one another, and it just ends up putting more oils. At the end of the day, you can watch the video to see kind of the science and exactly how it works. But what the key takeaway is, what it does differently than that, like a continuous column, is more of the oils end up in the whiskey, and of course the oils equates to flavor. That's where you're going to get the flavors of that grain. So that's kind of the secret magic of what the three chamber adds to this. And he's making some great whiskey with it. He's doing some other experiments with brandies and stuff like that now, so we'll get to that stuff down the road. It takes some time for it to age and stuff like that, but I think it's very interesting. And I, like I said, I'll have that link in the email I follow up after this event, and please do check that out. With that, I want to go through a tasting, and we'll go through these like we normally do. We'll go through 2 times just to see if anything changes or anything like that, and then we'll vote to see which one was our favorite of the night. But should be fun stuff. So before we taste and nose all the things we're going to do with the first one, let's go ahead and pour the collaboration one and just have that sit for a little bit while we put that aside, though. And then we're going to talk about our first one, which is, again, just the standard Leopold Brothers 3-chamber rye. These are both at 100 proof, by the way. So proof is exactly the same. So, all right. Let's talk about this on the nose. Again, you guys can open up your mics. It's not too big of a group. I want participation. We typically just kind of throw out the nosing notes, and then we'll go through and talk to everybody individually about the tasting notes when we get to that. What are you guys thinking on the nose here? Ooh,
I'm getting whoppers on the nose.
Whoppers, yeah. I like that. I don't think we've used that in one before, but it's kind of got that malty. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Burger King.
I'm getting rye bread.
Yeah, rye bread. Okay, yeah. You definitely you're definitely nosing you're getting the grains on the nose for sure. Yeah.
It's much different than other ryes that I've had before.
Mm-hmm.
It's with the other ryes, it's I get the grain, but this is like full on baked rye bread.
Baked rye bread, yeah. I agree. That's already different. A little kind of spiciness to it. I mean, you kind of get some of that pepper in there that you're going to get from a peppery rye. I'm getting some of that on the nose.
A little orange, like maybe even orange marmalade.
Orange marmalade. Okay, very good. All right.
I'm picking up a little hint of chocolate too on the back of the nose there.
Yeah. That goes in well with the Whoppers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What else is anybody getting?
There's a creaminess that it reminds me of a couple of different whiskeys who've been finishing their stuff in stout barrels.
Uh-huh.
That kind of adds that cream note to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What else? Anything else before we officially taste this one? I think there's a lot there. It's really a layered flavor.
Yeah, I'm in. You know those candied orange slices that you that are like jelly orange. So just picture that, but apple.
Okay.
That's what my brain is telling me.
Yeah.
I get that candied fruit sweetness, but it's not citrusy. It's more apple.
Yeah, very much.
So I'm not going to make that.
Along with the graininess, it smells like a breakfast cereal. I can't think which one that smells like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm
Life.
Life. Yeah.
Life.
All right, let's taste it.
This was my life.
Let's taste this one. Cheers on this one, gang. I think we're going to be in for a treat here. Here we go. Man, that has everything. That apple is in the taste for sure.
Yep. Excuse me, I need to go run out and buy a bottle.
It's tough to find. Now, the one we're going to be tasting the second here, the collaboration, I am seeing that one all over. That one's out there. But this one, I was looking for it again recently. I was lucky enough when it was out the last time, I picked up a couple bottles, but I don't see it again out there right now. It's tough to find.
You know, Steve, the thing that surprises me about this is what it's not in there. And that to me is that typical rye grab you in the back of the jaw kind of a bite thing.
Right.
It's not there at all. It's
No.
smooth body in the middle, big and rounded. And it's not like a lot of the ryes I'm familiar with. I'm not a real big rye guy, but I like rye. But I just feel like I was surprised that I would have not called it a rye had you not told me.
Right. Yeah.
Jason, I get what you're saying.
It's got some of the rice. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, James.
I was gonna say it's got the rye spice, but you're right. It doesn't have that. It's mellowed. It doesn't have that pow.
It doesn't get intense. It's not the.
Yeah.
We had one time that was so intense we called it pepper box. Remember that from those that were on that barrel pick we did at Neely. It was just an intense explosion of rye. But this isn't like that at all. But but you do get some of that rye taste. Mr. Bill, what are your thoughts?
I like it.
I like it. Okay. All right. That's good. For Mr. Bill, we know that's what you want to hear. Let's check in with Justine. She's usually good with some notes here. What are your thoughts on this one?
So to go back to Kent's reference to cereal, on the taste I get like Raisin Bran.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that kind of like spearmint or mint that you sometimes get with rye.
Yep.
Definitely very creamy, smooth, good hug. Like it.
Yeah. Yeah. There might
Steve,
be...
did they release the mash bill on it?
I don't know. I don't have that here with me, but
yeah.
Justine, can you Google that? See if it's out there.
What about the barrel? We got any information on the barrel?
No, that's definitely not on the bottle or anything like that, but we'll see if as Justine looks, see if there's anything like that out there. Neil, how about you, my friend? What are your thoughts?
I really like this. It's the nose carries on through to the palate, I think, but then adds a whole lot of other flavors to it. You get the apple. Mostly the apple, I think.
Yeah. Tony's got the he put it in the chat out there, so yeah, a bruisey rye. Yeah, that's what he talks about in the video. And 20% Leopold floor malt. Yeah. 80-20. Melanie, how about you?
I think it's delicious, and I get almost an apple cider on the finish.
Yeah. It's definitely some cider notes. Little, yeah. So the spices you get in the cider for sure. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's the nose is beautiful. I think the body is the palate's very well balanced, even though there's some good layers there. I'm surprised that it's 80% rye, 20% malt. I thought there's going to be a little corn in there as well, so that's interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Steve, how about you?
Yeah, like some of the other folks said, I think the main punch is just the baking spice. I think it's also kind of heavy on like some savory herbs. And then, I'm tasting some nice apple finish, and it is good to note that, it's unlike most ryes, all the flavors right on the front of the tongue rather than on the back of the tongue. I don't get like black pepper out of this.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
It is. Yeah. First time I got to try this, the legend brought over a bottle. He surprised me and showed up at the house with a bottle of this, which was crazy. He was the first one I knew that got a bottle. So as the legend does, right? That's kind of how that stuff works. Tony, how about you, man?
For me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint the nose and taste on this. It's kind of new to me for a rye. But what my focus is the mouthfeel. It's really creamy, really heavy. It just coats the mouth without burning.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely, the mouthfeel is the best maybe that you ever had. I mean, it's really, really good stuff.
Especially at 100 proof, right? Is that what you said, Steve?
Yeah, 100 proof. That's 100 proof. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Paul?
More of the same. I like it a lot. It's like sweet apple up front. Like Steve said, the rye spice is not in the back where I normally get it. It's up front, which is nice. A lot of apple. It's like Applejack cereal almost.
Yeah, Apple Jacks. There you go. Yeah, that was a good one from back in the day. Jason, how about you, man?
Yeah, I like the. It takes you on a trip. I mean, it's just it starts off apple and chocolate, and then it works its way into the fresh baked bread. Yeah. And then the finish for me is like honey and herbal tea.
Oh yeah.
And it just kind of lingers there for just like, I mean, drinking a glass of tea, it just kind of sits on the palate and just lingers for forever.
Very cool. Jason, have you tried this before? I know you drink a lot of whiskey, but so you've had yeah. So
and honestly, like this is probably the third or fourth time I've gotten to have a little bit. Okay. And it still blows me away every time I get to try it.
I know.
I forget how different it is.
Yeah. And the collaboration. I know you have a bottle. Have you tried it yet? Because I thought the last time you said you were waiting until we did that.
No, I was waiting for
good
this
deal.
one,
Good deal, man. You're like me. So I haven't done that either. Kent, what are your thoughts here as you try this one, man?
Well, I get the apple. I don't get it as strong as a lot of people. I do like Justine's, that the raisin brand. That's where it was with me. But instead of really the raisin or the grape, I get dates. It's a dates. The other thing is, and Nate had texted to me and Nick, dark chocolate. I get the dark chocolate mid tone, and it's more of that kind of how dark chocolate just kind of sucks the spit out of your mouth. Yeah, it's that feeling to me.
Yeah, it's really so many flavors there, and it's like even after the finish, it kind of finishes, and you got that little bit of writing, and then there's like a sweetness that kind of takes over your mouth after the fact. And I guess it's all those oils in there that coats the mouth and allows you to get those flavors, even after normally when you just drink the whiskey. So, Mark, what are your thoughts, man?
A lot of the same thoughts. But actually, instead of Raisin Bran, I'm going to go back to something from my childhood, like grape nuts, actually.
Grape nuts, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like a little more grainy than like raisiny, but also, again, like everybody's been saying, it definitely doesn't feel like a rye at all. I mean, it's there, but it's not that peppery finish.
Yeah. Yep. Nate, how about you, man? Nate goes from one to the other. All right. Any thoughts on the taste, Nate, or anything? Yeah.
Well, mostly I'm just kind of picking up on the things that other people are saying after they're saying them.
Yeah.
There's like a sort of tang, which I think after my dad said dates, I think that kind of stuck in my mind, like how dates kind of have like a little tang to them. Like
Yep.
kind of that's what's sticking out most to me.
Gotcha. Robert, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess echo what everyone has said so far. I don't think I could indicate exactly what specific fruit I think it is. Somewhere in between all of the guesses that have been thrown out so far. But I definitely get the fruitiness, and then kind of like the sweet like cream, and I mean the mouthfeel was the most like striking part for me. Especially with you mentioning the oils to begin with. So that's really what struck me.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, our good friend Jack Bulmer. Jack, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I apologize for being late. I really didn't want to miss this one. I feel, echoing some of what I heard, I think it's an interesting dance between that apple, that fruit, and the typical peppery or spice that we expect from a rye. That it kind of it's a very unique blend. I could smell it the moment I opened the cap. So really, very enjoyable.
Yeah, very cool. All right, let's grab that next one. Again, this is the collaboration. Todd Leopold worked with Nicole Austin. I think Nicole Austin brings a lot to George Dickel. I mean, you're talking about a very old brand, kind of viewed a little bit of stodgy, and maybe like Old Forester was viewed before Jackie's Icahn. I think it was kind of viewed as an old person whiskey and not really very exciting. And then if you think about how Old Forester is today, I think they're kind of pretty exciting whiskey. And I think Nicole's going to get George Dickel to that point. It takes a little while, but something like this really adds to what she's got going on. Again, the collaboration is that Leopold 3-chamber rye combined with rye that was made at George Dickel rye, their own stuff. Like I said, normally they're the products, the rye products that they have on the shelves that you may buy if you tried George Dickel rye, that's going to be an MGP product. So this is pretty interesting. Not something that's normally been tasted. This is a rye that they made. So let's go through that process again. Let's talk nosing notes first.
Bright green apple.
Yeah. Jumps out there.
Sure does.
This one has a more traditional nose, I think, for a rye.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What else do we think on this one? Maraschino cherry. This is Nate.
I'm getting some grape on this.
Grape, yeah. Maybe even.
I'm getting like citrus furniture polish.
Citrus furniture polish. All right.
It's this hint of kind of like like pledge, it has that citrusy kind of smell, but it's also just a little bit of burn.
Okay. I was going to go with the toppings on a banana split, kind of the bananas, and that, you get the pineapple on some banana splits. You get that
really ripe banana.
Really ripe banana. Yeah. Which you use in banana splits a lot. Something to do with those. All right, let's see what we got on the taste. Let's try this one. We'll go through and we'll talk to everybody about it. But let's give it a taste here. It's really good too. I mean,
yeah,
it's a sweet, kind of a little maybe a cookie kind of taste to it. Mm-hmm. Definitely something from the baked goods. And then to me, there is kind of mid palate, kind of apple. That apple is there. The green apple, maybe specifically, like Ryan was talking about, that's there.
It's this one. It kind of I think the Dickel is what's making it so sweet and fruity up front, and then as that kind of fades away, the body from the Leopold kind of just sits there, and it just like what we drank, but it was there the whole time. It was just waiting, and there's your finish. Is everything still on the palate when it finishes like the first one did?
Yeah.
It's like sugar on top of a sugar cookie. After it dissolves, then you've got it goes into the cookie taste.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more of the classic rye bite.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know, Steve, about the differences in the rye itself that Dickel uses versus Leopold? Because this to me it tastes more like rye to me. That characteristic's got a little fire in the front. It's got the bite and back.
Right.
It's flatter. It's longer. Got a longer finish that is kind of typically rye, with some of those kind of grassy notes.
Yeah.
In the middle that I didn't see in the first one. The first one is all together and bunched up and big in the body, and this is more laid out.
I think it's safe to say, based on what we know about George Dickel, and again, this would have been made before Nicole's time there, but so I don't think we're talking, with Todd's, he used the bruisey rye. So again, an heirloom rye that had less starch but more flavor, and I would assume that you're going to get kind of the commodity rye made with the Dickel, because it's something that they had experimented with, and I doubt they were doing any sort of heritage stuff with that. So and again, thanks to Tony for looking that up. It's undisclosed on George Dickel, so we don't actually know what the mash bill is, but I think you can make a couple of assumptions there.
Steve, we saw her a couple of months ago at the Bourbon Society, and she was very open about just about everything except the mash bill, and she would not talk about what the mash bill was on that.
Okay.
Of their part.
Cool. Well, I'm trying to. I want to get her on a show. I want to get her, to come on the Bourbon Show. So, working on that. So sometimes it takes time, but yes, I've talked to her, and she says she wants to do it, but then you got to work with PR people, and then it's kind of, sometimes it's just a dead hole. So I don't know.
Yeah, she seems very approachable.
Yeah, she seems very, very nice, for sure.
On the palate on this one, I get a tiny hint of the mint that Justine mentioned was not noticeable with the first one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you do that Freddie Johnson thing, put a little bit of this in your mouth, and then you put a little bit of water in your mouth and swish it around, you get a pretty decent mint.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I get on the taste on this one, not on the first one. On this one, I get a little bit, even like a peach kind of taste.
Yeah.
It's there. You got to find it. It's there, folks. But let's go around. We'll start in kind of reverse order of what we did last time. I'm just following how it's on my screen so I make sure I'm not skipping anybody or anything. But Jack, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the taste of this one?
I definitely can feel the collaboration with the first version that we tried, and then this has more of the traditional kind of rye combined. I'm assuming that's the Dickel too, but
right.
I did get to try this about a month ago and really was enjoying it. Wanted to compare it with the first one. So
right, yeah. On its own, I like it a lot. Compared to the first one, I don't know, that first thing is just special to me. It's one of my favorites of all time. But yeah, this is really good, and I like the fact it's very accessible. I saw it at 3 liquor stores yesterday. It was at all 3, so it's out there. Robert, how about you, man?
Yeah, I too, I can taste the collaboration, especially having the other one first, kind of recognizing a little bit of that mouthfeel and some of the flavors that are coming through. I think the pieces that kind of maybe strike me differently here, I get a little bit more honey. I think in the middle I get, I don't want to say grassy, but definitely something more like, maybe more like a cooking spice, like a sage or something, but in that sort of like grassy family. And then the finish, I kind of an oaky cocoa. I think someone said the topping of a sugar cookie, kind of a sweetness, I think, to finish. But yeah, it's interesting, and especially having it second, I think you can kind of pick out by process of elimination, the unique attributes.
I do think you're right. It's kind of a great collaboration, especially trying them like this, as you say, because you can kind of feel what part of this comes directly from Leopold and what part is from George Dickel. So it's definitely something very, very unique. So I like it. Nate, how about you?
Well, I put a picture in the chat. Those little those little wax.
Yeah.
Bottles.
Filled with like the sugary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, well, because I said on the nose it was kind of maraschino cherry-ish. Well, and it went into the taste, like it's still kind of that sharpness of the sweetness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just what I thought of. So
yeah, very cool. Mark, anything you'd like to add to that?
It's like a dill in the front, and then the Leopold comes in the back, and it's just really delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Kent, how about you?
Well, a lot of people talk about the collaboration. This is just different. It's a lot different. I mean,
yeah, it is.
The nose, kind of like what Nate was saying. The very first thing that I caught was paraffin wax. That was the first smell to me.
Yeah.
It is so much more diluted in flavor to me than that first one. But that sweet doesn't taste like a natural sweet. My grandmother used to use that saccharin all the time in her coffee and her tea and everything.
Yeah.
That tastes like that saccharin in tea is what it tastes like to me. That sweetness. It's just a real sharp sweetness when it hits your tongue.
Yeah.
A lot of, like you said, there's a lot of different flavors in there. But I won't give it away, but it's not like that first one.
All right, Jason, what are your thoughts here, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's flavor notes are right on. It really does remind me of a good blended Scotch.
Yeah.
When I see them building this, it's you take that 3-chamber and that's your malt. That's where you're getting your body from and your heft and your big flavor oily notes. And then, but a column still rye, you're going to get all these your alcohol from there and all these sweet, light, shiny notes to kind of. That's how you get that contrast. And being able to show off both those elements in the same sip is really good blending. Like, I mean, that's what happens so many times with a blend is one will go, one takes the front and the other disappears, or they create something and kind of blend together where you're not really getting either of them.
Just muddy. Yeah.
And this one, you're getting to see them both on that kind of journey again.
Yeah. It's pretty genius, really. All right, Paul, how about you?
I get the sweetness up front for me is more of like I think Ken said it's like a fake sweetness, not in a bad way, but it's like I get a grapey note. And it's like a grape soda kind of. It's like artificial grape, but then it finishes with like a minerality or herbal something that probably comes from Dickel maybe. But all in all, I mean, it's complex. I like it.
Yeah. Tony, how about you, man?
Yeah, like Paul was saying, there's this sweetness up front. Then you can, on the taste, you get this familiarity with the first one. There's three-chamber rye with the rich mouthfeel. And it's a really good blend between the two.
Yeah. Steve?
On first taste, the fruit jumped out. For me, it was a green apple, but I didn't taste the fruit as much on the next taste. The next ones I could taste more savory, some light amount of mint, and some honey that wasn't in the first taste, not in the first 3-chamber. But the finish, was pretty reminiscent of that 3-chamber. So it is a nice blend. It gives a few different flavors, but we still have the really good flavors from the first. But yeah, it brought some new notes in there. I thought I didn't really taste any mint or honey or the green apple from the first one, but it's present here. It's delicious.
Okay. All right. Jump up to Justine there.
So on the nose, this one kind of reminded me of the one that we had last night where they said it was like you have a bag of Jolly Ranchers and you open it and you get like, the smell of all of the different fruits.
Right.
So that was the nose. On the taste, it started off sweet. Then I agree with Paul, like it gets kind of herbally, and I pick up a little bit of the mint. So I don't know, like a minty herbal tea finish.
Okay. All right. Melanie?
Yeah, I think this one, they're both very, very drinkable. I wouldn't mix either one of them. I think that would be a disservice.
Yeah, I agree. These are
yeah,
just sippers only. Yeah.
Yeah, the collaboration is really very interesting. It's just like layers. You taste one thing and then another thing and then another thing, and very pleasant. I think the fruitiness comes from the Dickel, and I think the Leopold brothers mellows out the extreme fruitiness that can be Dickel.
Yeah. If I was visiting you and Neil and you had to sit out on the table and you saw me grab it and pour it in my glass, and then I grabbed a bottle of Coke, would you like slap that out of my hand or something?
We would think that you know,
No, we
you were somebody else.
We
But
probably make fun of you, but we
just humiliate me. That's good. You get it posted on social media. Yeah.
That's right. Guess what Steve did?
Yeah. It would never happen, but yeah, it's fun to think about. All right, Neil, how about you?
I just what everybody else has said. I really appreciate the. I think the 3-chamber rye makes a good base. I think whatever Dickel's blend, whatever their mash bill is, has added a bunch of different elements, the sweetness and the fruitiness, and the fact that you can taste the difference and separate those elements, I think is just really, really cool.
I think it's an excellent collaboration because it gives us something else. I'm into this 3-chamber rye. This is a much lower price point too, so it brings it down in price. It also probably extends their stock. I mean, I'm sure Todd's in a situation where he can sell as much as he can get out there, but again, he's beholden to time like everyone else in the whiskey business. So it's a very neat collaboration, and I like it. It threw me for a loop when I first heard about it. I was like, Todd Leopold, kind of the king of craft, and then you got Dickel, which is again kind of where their reputation is and where it's going to be soon. I think is not at that perfect crossroads, but this kind of helps to get them on that road. I think it's very, very cool collaboration. So really perfection. So hats off to both Todd and Nicole for working on this. Great stuff.
I'd be really interested to taste this Leopold Brothers off the still.
Yeah.
Like what does it taste just straight off the still? What notes are there? And because it's got to be something funky.
Yeah. That's a great point. He could do a white dog off of that, just because we want to try it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing would be, if you could, out of each of the chambers, right? I'd love to see what that. Right, because
each step of the process, yeah.
Yeah,
he could sell a kit. He could sell a kit that had, I'm not sure.
You could, right?
That'd be pretty cool.
And then you really see what that 3-chamber distillation process is giving you.
I agree. Take my money. If he comes up with that, just take my money.
I've got that suspicions just based on what I've read that you're going to start seeing those complex, rich flavors coming in as you get to the later stages in the distillation process, that when it comes off the first still, it's probably much more like a traditional rye.
Yeah. Ryan, what are your thoughts here?
I'm going caramel green apple straight from the state fair on the nose. So the palate was a little unsurprising for me. Certainly where Mr. Bill went, and a couple others with the mint. I second that thought. And then the finish was right back to being very nice. More of certainly a traditional rye was in there. And then you could definitely tell that those the 3-layer or the 3-chamber was in there as well. So very surprising on the nose. I thought it was great. The palate was kind of neutral, and then the finish was excellent.
Yeah. These sort of amazing events where you're showcasing something unique that a distiller's doing brings out the distillers. So again, Ryan and Gary just bought tickets to the event like everybody else. So they come out and wanted to try it. So So what do you think? Taking time now you've tasted both of these. What are your thoughts here, Ryan? Something
I'm
pretty
buying
special.
both of them when
Yeah,
I see
know.
them at the store.
Me too. Me too. It's good. Gary,
Yeah,
how about
I
you,
don't think
man?
I haven't seen them up here in the Vail Valley, so I gotta find them when I'm down in Denver next or something. So
Yeah.
what are the price points?
Yeah. So it's like $105 is what I've been seeing the collaboration going for. And I want to say
250.
250 is
Gotcha. Okay.
it's a going rate for the 3-chamber. So yeah. So
Perfect.
there you go.
You should be able to get that in Denver for a little over $100. I just got one. Personally, my son lives in Boulder and he just picked one up at a little over 100. So it's pretty available. But he couldn't get it straight 100 3-chamber. So I don't know
Yeah.
what availability is, whether they just put that out. I can imagine how limited supply and everybody's going to be on allocation, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wrote down here something I just haven't really shared with people, but in looking at everybody taste this and that and everything else, if you look at where, how, and what, how it feels, where it feels, and what you feel, I'm more about where and how than what.
Okay.
To me, the 3-chamber just bunches it all together. All those flavors are just crowded together in the midpoint with a very smooth start and a really short finish with no lingering backfield or a finish at all. Now the collaborative, it's got a sting on the front.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a burn on the back. It's got a rye. I raised rye one time for a hay crop, and that's what I went back to is that rye, that kind of rank, little, grassy, sappy, kind of a grass sap kind of a taste. But to me, it just spreads it out. The 3-chamber has got to be something that just clustered all those tastes together. Of course, we don't know what kind of rye it is. That's a big deal. And I'm a big deal about starting, the variance in what you start with in your determines your end product. And I think the rye probably has a bigger effect on these two whiskeys than how it was distilled. That's my thought anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, we know a Bruzy rye is have you heard of that, Gary? A Bruzy rye?
No, I haven't followed the ryes. That's
okay.
One of the reasons I was really interested in doing this thing tonight. I need to know more about them.
Yeah, so that's definitely probably one to check out. And if you watch that video, Todd gets into why that's the perfect rye for what he's doing. So yeah, very interesting. I'm sure everybody's going to want some of it now after what he's been putting out with it. So yeah, but it's a fun collaboration in that you get to see the contrast, the compare and contrast of these the rye that he's using versus the traditional one that Dickel's using.
Well, Nicole's going to bring in her past experiences with the craft situation, unique stuff. If she brings any of that at all, she's going to change Dickel a big bunch.
Yeah,
I thought
she comes from Kings County, so
Kings County.
So
she won some big awards with that stuff.
Yeah.
If she brings 10% of them, then it's going to change Dickel a whole bunch. That would be my thought.
Yeah.
And just the fact she's doing a collaborative with Todd Leopold is evidence that she's reaching out and seeing the tests in the waters.
Yep.
What else is out there? Yeah, I like to see this. I like to see the craft and the big boys get together on some collaborative stuff.
Yeah.
We're all in it together, and we need each other.
Yeah. It's such a cool thing because you just don't see we see it a lot in the world of beer. If you're into beer, there's a lot of collaborations and a lot of them where it's co-branded on the label, and you just don't see that happening a whole lot in whiskey. And this one is a true collaboration. Both brands are represented on the label, and it's a neat thing. And I hope we see more of it. Craft to craft, heritage to craft. Maybe even heritage to heritage somewhere along the line. It'd probably be the toughest model to figure. Have the couple of the big boys working together, but you never know. Last one we'll go to for official tasting note before we close the books on this one. We'll go through a second time, of course. Mr. Bill.
Man, I really like this.
Okay.
It took my taste buds a minute to wrap around it, but I really like it. I think I prefer the first one better, but this is
not a bad
wild
substitute, and it's less than half the price. So yeah,
right.
It's 105, and you could say, well, that's expensive. Well, I don't know. Today's whiskey, that's where we're at today, right? I mean, that's if you want to get the quality, that's kind of where it's going. So,
right,
it's interesting. All right, let's put that aside. Again, let's go back to our first one that we tasted, and again, higher level. We're not going to go around the horn like we did the first one. This is more if you want to talk about something that you feel has changed, evolved, for better or for worse. Please just denote it to the group here, and we'll talk about it. All right. On the nose, ooh, the nose I feel is the same, but it's more intense. It's bolder on the nose.
Getting a lot more of the raisin bread / Chips Ahoy.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane. You could sell that if you can bottle that scent and sell that to candle makers and all that kind of stuff. That's amazing. Woohoo!
It smells like cream of Kentucky.
Yeah, cream of Kentucky. All right, let's taste it. Let's see what we got. Wow. Man. There's so much there. I mean, kind of.
It's a really good whiskey.
Yeah.
I don't care what it's.
Yeah. It's just a great whiskey. That's the best way to describe it. Here's your tasting notes. It's a great whiskey. I mean,
amen.
It's got everything there. I mean, this is why I love American whiskey, and this is why I'm a fan, because that layering of flavors, and this has literally everything that you want in a whiskey. Some of the other stuff, nothing, no disrespect. I just feel like they hit on one note and kind of that's it. The malted products and it's just not for me. I'm not bashing them, and I get that there's big time fans of it. Jason will probably yell at me in a second here. I know he's a big fan of some stuff, but I like this. This is what I like right here. This is what I like. So just amazing. This is I feel like anybody that says they're a whiskey fan would like this. I can't imagine someone being like, "Oh, drain pour." Someone would probably done it on Facebook, because they got to. They're not really pouring it out either. It's iced tea in the bottle, but they'll pour it down the drain because they want to act like they're cool. I think they're idiots. Anybody who even does that at all is an idiot. But some people think they're cool for doing that. So,
you gave us something that's proof here, Steve, but I bet you'd really like it just as well at 70 or 130. It's still going to be a good whiskey. I mean, it's just going to be, transcends proof.
I agree.
And transcends style. I think that's what's really interesting, because when we started this whole conversation out, this doesn't have some of those classic rye notes. Right. You get a little bit of it, but it doesn't drink like a rye.
No.
And, Steve, you were just talking about it being a great American whiskey. And I think that's what's really, really compelling about it is if I put this down in front of somebody who loves rye whiskey, they would drink this and say, this is a great whiskey. And if I put this in front of somebody that didn't like rye whiskey, they would drink this and say, this is a great whiskey.
Yeah. It's powerful. I think that this is just going to be, again, the idea of going out and buying a still that you don't even know if it's going to work because you've read a lot about it and you think you can make it work. That's like risking your whole business. If this fails and it makes terrible whiskey or you can't even get it to work, what happens to Leopold Brothers? I mean, I know they're well established in that, but that's a heck of a hit. I can't imagine. So every accolade, Todd Leopold should get every accolade that's out there because he did something totally different, something that most people, even if you brought this to them and said, hey, here's what we want to do and here's why we want to do it, I don't think most people would take that risk. I mean, no one else is doing that. Why would we do that?
Well, he took a big risk, but the thing you don't know is he did his homework. He wasn't gambling nearly like we think because he knew what he was doing and he covered all these bases and then made a decision. But he was not scared to doing this when he started out.
Yeah.
He was confident.
Which is a testament to the guy. Yeah.
Based on his research and what he knew about it and what he's had to understand about why those two guys had the big stills and yet they kept this one.
Yeah, yeah.
He-
All
he
the
makes a
highly
lot of
efficient
money
stills.
on that concept.
Yeah, highly efficient stills pumping out 100,000 gallons a day. Gary, if
Right.
we need to ramp you up to 100,000 gallons a day, what kind of investment do we need to make in equipment? I mean, it's insane to think about. But they still had the 3-chamber, and that's what drove Todd to said, why would they have that? Why would they be making whiskey with that if they're doing that sort of production? And he knew that had to be the taste. And of course, he went for it. And it's such a cool story. I think it's one of the most amazing things I've seen in whiskey, and it's paid off. This doesn't get any better than that. It just does not.
That's good. And
All
this
right.
this collaboration, the collaboration is delicious, but with I think with that 3-chamber, I think you could blend it with anything and have a delicious product. I really do.
Maybe that's
Oh my
his new
God.
side business. I'll fix your whiskey, blend it with mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
3-chamber is delicious. Wow.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the collaboration one last time. Let's talk a little nosing, tasting notes, those type of things. See if anything else we want for the official record here. I mean, it's just not even the same on the nose. I mean, the
I'd
first one
almost
just-
compare them to different seasons. Like, I mean, the 3-chamber is winter.
Yeah.
It's deep and it's rich and it's dark flavors. And this one's more coming into spring. You're
Yeah.
starting to get the bright flavors. You're starting to get the greens coming back. But it's still got a little bit of those cold days still in there.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the movie we're going to make about this. Right there, Jason will be on there. Explain that. I think that's pretty good, Jason. You just pulled that out of your ass, maybe, but that's pretty good. I liked it. Cheers, buddy. Let's get a little taste here. Yeah, I mean, I really liked it too. I mean, this is a great whiskey, and again, if we had never tasted 3-chamber Rhino, I think we would, absolutely be in love with this. But it definitely is a neat collaboration. It's one where you can distinctly feel the two parts working together, which is cool. But yeah, that first one's special, man. Anything else you guys want to add on taste on this one for the official record? Okay. Well, it's time to vote. We're going to go through, and even if we think that we know, we still have to go through the process, and everyone gets their vote. We're not going to have you raise your hands or anything. We're going to go through. Gary, what do you think is the better one? Do you think the 3-chamber or the collaboration?
I think the 3-chamber.
3-chamber. All right. Mr. Bill.
3-chamber.
James.
3-chamber.
The legend.
3-chamber.
3-chamber. Ryan.
3-chamber.
3. Melanie.
3-chamber.
Someone's going to buck the system. I think we had one last night. It worked out well. Terry last night. What do you think, Neil?
3-chamber.
3-chamber.
And I think B was the shelfie.
Justine.
3.
3. Okay. Steve.
3-chamber.
3. Tony.
3-chamber.
3-chamber. Paul. Throw a bone here to collab.
No, 3-chamber.
3-chamber. All right. Jason.
Yeah, I got to go 3.
3. Okay. Robert.
So I'm just kidding. 3-chamber.
I know you might be the contrarian. You can do it. Nate, how about you?
I'm certainly not going to be the one dissenting vote.
All right. Kent.
All day long, 3-chamber.
Yep. Last but not least, Jack.
You don't need to be a weatherman to see which way the wind's going. 3-chamber for sure.
Yeah, me too. 17-0. 3-chamber. There's the one.
I feel bad because it's like the year's second best movie came out the same weekend as the first best movie.
Yes.
So everyone thinks that we hate it.
Yes.
And you starred in both of them?
Well, yeah,
Right.
yeah. You started in both of them, and yeah. Well, no, we don't hate it at all. It's a really great whiskey. It's a fun collaboration, And like I said, there may be some very good reasons for doing that, stretching the supplies and getting it at a little bit cheaper price too. It opens it up to more people being, an opportunity to try it. So I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. And look for more of that kind of stuff from Leopold. And I think Nicole Austin's going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for that brand. I haven't been excited about that brand in a long time. So, but I'm very excited for what the future holds and keeping an eye on it. And as she comes out with new stuff, I think we want to try it. We'll do events around it and see what we can get going with it. So it's cool.
So I'd like to see the Rye Leopold brothers go collab with the Wood Hat Corn.
Yeah. What do you think, Gary?
Ooh, Gary.
Gary, what do you think?
I think that's totally the wrong approach. I think political needs to make me a 3-chamber. Then it wouldn't be prejudiced, right?
I'm not going to disagree.
I agree. I'm going to call him. I am.
Yeah. You're going to call him? Yeah, call him up. He's a great guy. He talks to me. Like I said, Royce and I just showed up there randomly one day. We were out there. We were doing a screening of the movie Kindred Spirits for the 5280 Whiskey Society, which is the big Denver-based group out there. Nate Weingart runs it, and he had us out there to show our movie. And of course, Royce was in it. I put it together, and we went in and stopped in there, and Todd took more than an hour to talk to us, show us the still, talk about how it worked, and a lot of the things we talked about tonight, why he did it and all that, and how labor intensive it is. He literally has to pay someone, and because they can't do anything but run that still for an 8-hour shift, he pays for a Netflix thing for him. He lets them sit there and watch Netflix whatever they want, but they gotta work the still every 15 minutes or something like that. And he's like, again, it's inefficient, but that's how you got to make it with this particular still. So
It seems like us, but we got a bloody purple corn. We've been breeding for the last 4 years and selected, and we haven't released a whiskey from it yet, but I'd be willing to try that on that still. It's just got such depth and so forth, and flavors to it. So
yeah,
there
you go.
There's
There may be a collaboration brewing tomorrow. Fill us in, Gary. Yeah. Fill me in. I'll put that in Quick Bourbon Notes on Friday.
There you go.
I'll break that news. Get it out there.
So I do think your next series needs to be, can Leopold Brothers fix that? And so we're just going to get really
Yeah.
and we'll blend it with the 3-chamber and see.
Can Leopold fix that? That's our new series. Yes.
That's a great one. That's great.
Yeah, very cool.
That's like the bottom 6 of a project series.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, fun stuff. That's it for the official event tonight. Of course, I always stick around, hang out, talk whiskey, whatever you like. But we'll say goodbye to our folks that were at home watching this and getting caught up. So take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.